Go. Welcome, everybody, to our training on Matching Gifts 101. My name is Emily Bauman, and I am super excited to be spending part of my afternoon with you as we go over matching gifts and how they can be a really powerful fundraising tool for your organization. So I just have a quick little housekeeping items to go through before we really get started here. This meeting is being recorded, and the link is going to be sent out to everybody who registered. We're also going to send out a PDF of the slides, so please don't feel like you have to take crazy notes. I should be able to get that out to all of you definitely by tomorrow afternoon, if not by end of day today. Might just depend on how slowly YouTube decides that it wants to process. Please keep yourselves on mute unless you're talking. We will have time for Q&A at the end where we will welcome you to come off mute. You can also drop your questions in the chat as we go along. I am on two computers here, so bear with me as I try. There we go. Okay. So I mentioned I'm Emily Bauman. I'm the communications manager here at the St. Louis Community Foundation. You may know me from Give STL Day and the project lead on that. I'm really excited to be joined by Kathy Tate, the Director of Development at Circus Harmony, and Katie Reinerman, Corporate Relations Manager at the Missouri Botanical Garden. Katie, could you say a few words of introduction about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Emily. My name is Katie Reinerman, and I am the Corporate Relations Manager here at the Garden. In my role, I oversee our sponsorships and also our corporate fundraising, which includes our Corporate Partner Membership Program and our Corporate Council Volunteer Leadership Board.
Thank you, Katie. Kathy, could I ask you to do the same?
Sure. My name is Kathy Tate, and I'm the Director of Development for Circus Harmony. We are on the third floor of City Museum. You may have seen us there. We're a social circus school. We have 700 students throughout the St. Louis area. And in my role, I help them with all of the fundraising, the grant writing, the corporate relations, the individual donors. It's a big chunk of work. So I'm glad to be here today. Thank you.
Absolutely, understatement. Well, I know that I have very fond memories of both going to the City Museum and watching the circus, as well as visiting the garden when I was a kid and still now as an adult. So thank you so much for being with us here today, both of you. Peer-to-peer learning is definitely much better than talking heads, and I know that I'm definitely excited to hear your insight and expertise into matching gifts. So moving on, we do have a quick poll today just to help understand everybody's level of comfort and familiarity with matching gifts. So you should see a poll up on your screen now with two questions asking you if you're familiar with matching gifts or grants, and where does your organization typically get matching gifts, and select all that, apply there. And while we're giving everybody just a moment to fill out the poll, please feel welcome to drop your name and your organization in the chat. We'd certainly love it if you were able to make some new peer connections today. And please also feel welcome to drop in a question that you would like to have answered. Again, we'll look back at those during our question and answer session. And if there's anything that we've missed or needs more clarity, we will go back to it. So I'll give just a little bit longer for everybody to fill out that poll. Awesome. Looks like that's almost everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and share the results with you all. You should be able to see those. So it looks like most people who are here today have heard of a matching gift, but need to know more. For those of you who are experts, hopefully this will be a nice refresher. Maybe we'll still be able to teach you a couple new things. And looks like a mixed bag for where your organizations are getting matching gifts. Most of you saying that you don't, which hopefully we'll be able to shed some light here today on places that you can find matching gifts. Great, thank you for your participation in that. Oop, there we go. All right, so today's agenda, first thing, I think I already mentioned that we are going to be spending quite a bit of time talking about what a matching gift is and the different ways that they can work. We'll go over where you might be able to find a matching gift, how you can strategize around one after you've secured it, and then have time for Q&A with our wonderful guest presenters. All right, so first order of business, this is a Matching Gifts 101 training. So we would definitely be remiss if we didn't just spend some time talking about what is a matching gift. Now, it does sound like most of you have heard of these before and are somewhat familiar, but essentially what they boil down to is a promise from a donor to give a certain amount of money if your organization raises a certain amount of money. For example, a donor might promise that if you raise $500, they'll donate $500. So at the end of the day, your organization ends up raising $1,000. Now, they are extremely powerful fundraising tools because of this message. Donors love knowing that their dollar is going further, and to have something be doubled or tripled is really a great incentive for them. You could end up with a 2-to-1 match, a 3-to-1 match, and so on. Matching gifts can be structured in many different ways. We'll talk a little bit more about that on the next couple of slides. It's also, I just want to clarify, you might also hear them be called matching grants or just simply a match. This is all essentially the same thing. What we're not talking about today is when someone's employer matches their charitable donation to an organization. This is, of course, an awesome way for your nonprofit to get more dollars in the door, and it should be something that you're pursuing. Sorry if you're hearing some crosstalk as part of your strategy. But we're not talking about those employer-driven matching gift programs today. So how do they work? This is just a very quick example of a really straightforward one-to-one match. So this is for those of you who have never heard of matching gifts before. So we have our donor who says, if you can raise $500, I will give you $500. So your organization runs a fundraising campaign focusing on that match, and you raise the $500. You get back in touch with the donor and you say, hey, yay, we did it. And they say, awesome, I'm putting your check in the mail right now. And they give that donation that they were planning on. So your organization ends up with a total raised of $1,000, and you've successfully secured and leveraged a matching gift campaign. But they are not always quite so straightforward. So in this scenario, the same donor says, if you can raise $500, I'll give you $500. But what can happen if your fundraising campaign raises less than the match amount? This depends on the donor and will be determined as you and that donor are working out the criteria for the matching gift. So let's say your campaign raises $300 instead of $500. The matching donor may say, well, I love you. I was planning on giving you $500 anyway. Here you go. And you've still raised $800. I'm really sorry, there's a typo in that top section. The very top one, your total would be $800 raised. In the middle, the donor may say, well, I love you. You didn't quite make the match, but I still will match every dollar that you did raise. And they give you $300. So I apologize, that middle total should be $600. Or worst case scenario, honestly, and I have very rarely seen this happen in my experience, the donor says, no, you didn't raise the amount that we asked you to raise. We're not giving you anything. And your total is still $300. I don't know how I managed to mess up every single one of those numbers, but I did. So I do apologize. It should be $800, then $600, then $300. And this, what happens is really going to depend on your relationship with your donor. And again, that criteria that you've set up whenever you're coming into an agreement for this matching gift with them. These donors are typically known to you. They're passionate about their work, your work. They want to support you. They already had that money earmarked for you. So I do think it's really quite uncommon for a donor to give nothing if you don't meet your match, but it can definitely happen. Katie or Kathy, if you have experience with this where you've had a match donor, but the match was not met, or know of a situation where this had happened, could you maybe share your experience with the group?
Yes, we're fortunate that we have met the matches that we have set, and part of that goes into strategically setting the amount, which I'll get into later on. So,
yeah, knowing what match is realistic for you to meet based on previous fundraising campaigns then. Thank you.
You're in the same boat as Kathy, just trying to be strategic about what that amount is and then working with the donor behind the scenes on what the match amount will be.
That's great and a super, super smart way to handle it. It's definitely not, you know, the best marketing. Hey, we've got this great match, but we didn't quite meet it. So finding a realistic and attainable goal for your matching campaign is definitely, if it's not step one, it's definitely in the top 5. So moving on where to find a match, and this is where Katie and Kathy, I'll loop you in a little bit more. So matches really can come from anywhere. Probably the most common places that you might find a matching gift would be from your volunteers. They could be from your board members, from donors who have already given to your organization, and then of course, corporations or businesses. And it's really important to remember that matching gifts can be pooled into one bigger match. Of course, you want to communicate with the donor and ask them if they're okay with it being pooled with other gifts. But you could have 10 board members and 10 donors each give $100 each and end up with a $2,000 match. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and it does not have to come from just one source. It also doesn't have to come evenly from one source. If you've got, 16 donors but 40 volunteers based on the structure of your organization, definitely lean into where your strongest potential match source is. Kathy, you had shared with me in a previous conversation that your match is typically from your board. Could you talk to the group a little bit about how that works for Circus Harmony?
Sure. So what I did with Give STL Day this year in particular, it was our first year trying a match. One of our board members had come to me asking how they could best be of help on Give STL Day. And I had in the back of my mind, I thought, well, what if we did a match where we combined all of the board members together, to have this kind of united match. So I asked her for a specific gift and she said, she would be willing to do that on the match basis. Then I emailed each of the other board members individually and I made an ask of them based on their giving history. So some board members, I asked if they would chip in $50. Some I asked if they would chip in $500. And knowing that not all of them would, since some of them had already made their annual gift and would not do that. But we did get about 30% of the board to come together and do this combined gift for Give STL Day. We got it to $1,000, which was my goal given our past giving history on Give STL Day. We usually bring in between $2,000 and $5,000. So I knew a $1,000 match would be something that we could get to and easily do. And then that also was an opportunity to reach out to, we had 2 board members who had not yet made their gift for the year. And so that was another avenue to reach out to them and say, the end of the fiscal year is coming up. We do need 100% board participation. Would you be willing to do this match for Give STL Day? And those were 2 that jumped in on that opportunity as well. So I think it's important to remember that your board members and your volunteers, they want to support you. You kind of just need to ask. And that's the first thing to do, is just offer that as an opportunity for them to support you. And a lot of times people will say yes and jump right in.
Thank you for sharing, Kathy. So many really important points brought up there. It's really sticking with me about actually making that ask. If you don't ask, you're never going to get a yes. You might get a no, but you're definitely not going to get a yes if you don't put it out there. And I really loved what you said too about asking board members for specific amounts based on their past giving history. If someone who has always given $75 is, has $1,000 ask put in front of them, that may make them backpedal. So really, paying close attention, looking at their giving on an individual level and tailoring that ask when you do make it, I think is really important and definitely something that I hope everybody here will consider as they're asking about matching gifts. Thank you so much. Katie, the garden definitely handles matching gifts in different ways, particularly because of the corporate relationships that you have. Could you talk about how those played in to Give STL Day for the garden and the Earthways Center this year?
Absolutely. So just to give you a little bit of background about the Earthway Center, they are the sustainability arm of the garden and really have great connections with lots of partners in the community, just to make sure that we have the most green products available and that we can give the best recommendations possible to our constituents. So we talk to them a lot on a regular basis, and we would consider them some of our best partners for the Earthway Center and great people to lean on for an ask like a matching gift. We really went ahead and pulled some of those vendors out that would be willing to support and ask them individually for just different amounts that they would be willing to sponsor to make that match. Also, as an added bonus, we were able to talk about them as our matching donors in our marketing and on the Gives website. So they got a little extra marketing bump there too. So it's sort of a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, give them a little bit of extra love. We will definitely be talking about how you can show your matching gift source some extra love as part of your campaign. So these were mostly corporations, businesses, community partners that were known to Earthway Center ahead of time, right?
Yes, definitely. So one, for example, would be our compostable products vendor. They supply all of our compostable plates and napkins and utensils throughout the year. The other is our office supply vendor, who supplies us with our post-consumer recycled paper and recycled pens, things like that. So they're more than willing to support us for also supporting them. And once again, just being willing to go that extra mile as a good friend to the Earthway Center and give us that matching opportunity on Give STL Day.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that this segues really nicely into our next topic, which is, oh, well, there are your logos. I stayed on the last slide a little bit too long. Look how beautiful they are. Which is to talk a little bit about actually narrowing down and identifying those potential sources. So to continue on with what both Katie and Kathy were saying, I want to remind everybody here that existing data is really your most valuable or one of the most valuable assets that you have when you're identifying and pursuing a matching gift opportunity. We send out a big survey after Give STL Day every year. I imagine many of you here took it, and we ask organizations, did you secure a match? Did you meet your match? How did you find your match? And the most common answers were donors who had already donated to that organization and board members. So I would recommend that the very first person on the top of your prospective matching gift list should be a donor or a couple donors that already give to your organization. Maybe one person who gives a larger gift, a couple people who you can pull together. But consistency is key here. I imagine that everybody on the call always knows, like, oh, like Bob and Sally are going to give in honor of their son's birthday every September. We have these 3 people who always give at end of the year. If you have an established relationship with them, there's absolutely no reason not to say, like, hey, Bob and Sally, we're planning this campaign. If you're planning on contributing to, nonprofit XYZ like you normally do, could we leverage your donation as part of a larger campaign and a matching gift, and explain that to them? They already love your organization, they were going to give anyway, and you have a really high likelihood of being successful there. To Kathy's earlier comments, is your board receptive? Even if the amount per board member is, small in comparison to what your total matching gift pool goal is, that's totally fine. It's great for it to vary by board member, again, being intentional with that ask. But your board members are really invested in the success of your organization. They understand not only your goals, but also your needs, and can be an excellent source for a matching gift, particularly one that is pooled. We've already talked about volunteers a little bit. These are people who are already giving their time and their talent to your organization, and maybe asking them for a small gift of their treasure as well could be a good strategy for you. If you have, a volunteer army per se. Gosh, Katie, I know the garden has like several hundred volunteers. Kathy, does Circus Harmony engage volunteers at all?
Not as frequently, no. A lot of our teaching artists are highly trained, and the class sizes are kept small intentionally. So when we do need volunteers, it's when there's a larger show, when we need ushers and ticket takers and that sort of thing for performances.
So yeah, that's really going to depend on your organization and whether you have volunteer programs in place, what your relationship with them already looks like. The last thing you would want to do is for that volunteer who you haven't really talked to since the last time they came and helped out at an event, is to make an ask of them. So if you're thinking about looking to your volunteers as a source for a matching gift, make sure that you're also communicating with them, giving them updates about your organization where there's no ask involved. Just a little side note there.
And
Um,
Emily, if I may just jump in,
absolutely.
also thinking about your volunteers as an avenue to a corporate gift or a corporate match is something that we do often with our corporate council and Young Friends Council when we're looking for matching gifts or sponsors for our events. So
Yeah,
just
you never know who
multiple ways.
owns a business, whose husband owns, husband, partner, spouse, cousin, whoever, who might have an in for you, a warm introduction, for that last bullet point. And I love that, Katie, thank you, because I think when people hear corporate or business gift, they immediately go to like, oh, well, how am I ever going to get in front of like Apple or Starbucks or Bank of America, these big, huge brands. But consider the fact that, Katie, to your point about, the garden pursues donations from the folks who supply your compostable cups, I think you said. Who do you already do business with? Maybe your regulars at the deli down the street, the owner, you see them every week. Maybe you have a great relationship to the people who provide your IT services. Does a certain business always use you for their annual staff volunteer day? Um, for example, the Community Foundation, it's not exactly the same, but when I'm looking for sponsors for Give STL Day, our wonderful AC people, Air Comfort Service, always come in because the guy fixes the AC behind me every single month. So please keep in mind that corporate definitely does not mean unattainable by any means. I feel like even for me now, it feels like a little bit of a monolith to be like, how do I get an in at this corporate gift? But lean on the relationships that you have, lean on the people that you already know, and seek those warm introductions whenever you can. Katie or Kathy, is there anything that you'd like to add to identifying potential matching givers?
That pretty much covers it, I think.
Well, super. Thank you. So once you've identified who might be a good prospect for a matching gift, you have to pitch this idea to them. And so you, of course, want to make sure that they're very clear on what your mission is. If you're talking to a board member or a volunteer, they probably already know. But if you're talking to a new relationship, maybe a potential new corporate partner, you want to make sure that they understand who you are and what you're all about. And it's very important to include impact stories of your work. What have you been up to? Because this is really going to show that donor why they should support you, particularly if they're not as closely involved with your organization already. Again, hopefully your board members know what's been going on, but maybe even your volunteers don't, understand the breadth of the programming that you have. So you include stories as well as data to support the why of this ask. And if you're going to include data, definitely make sure that that is in little digestible tidbits. No one except your finance committee wants to read a spreadsheet, so pull out those highlights that really reinforce the why and help you tell your story. And it's not always about, okay, you filled 300 backpacks last year. How many kids is that? Do you have a picture of some of those kids or of some volunteers filling those backpacks? So this is where really creative and intentional storytelling around your mission and your organization can be used to support this ask that you're making of this potential matching gift donor. You also want to talk about what is the added value of this partnership? Why should they be your matching donor as opposed to just donating? Or honestly, like, why should they choose you? Talk about if you're going to be able to recognize them in a certain number of social media posts. Are you having like a trivia night or another event associated with this where they could come up and speak or maybe like announce a round of trivia, something creative that's going to get them and their business in front of people? That's particularly incentive for corporate donors, I think, because some do want to be recognized in that way, but others do not. Katie, I would love to ask you to speak a little bit to the corporate side of this. I know that the Garden does a really lovely job of preparing some very intentional documents whenever you're going after corporate sponsors for events and fundraisers.
Yeah, sure. So we have a great number of events here at the Garden. So to keep all of our sponsorship information straight, we have a number of different sponsorship packets that we present in front of our prospects. Of course, we have the benefits at different levels of sponsorship. But like Emily had mentioned, we do use our audience data to sort of tell the story of who's going to be at the event. We highlight the mission of the event, especially if it is supporting a specific aspect of the garden. For example, the Earthway Center, highlighting exactly what they do at the garden, because there are so many different pieces that make up the garden as a whole. And then just also, yeah, getting that value of the partnership in front of them as well. So how we're going to highlight them as part of the event and how we're going to highlight them before and afterwards as well. These are often made up with pictures of past events and glamour shots of the garden, just a really nice piece to get in front of people. But on the other hand, many of our asks are also made just by sending a simple email and just explaining the event too. So it doesn't have to be this big flashy resource that you have in order to really secure that gift.
Thank you so much. Probably no one here knows this, but I actually used to work for the Missouri Botanical Garden and was the graphic designer who would often create those corporate sponsorship documents. And so while they are beautiful and highly effective, they're not long. They're really pretty simple and straightforward, but they have that really attractive storytelling element, the data element, who's going to be here, who can you get in front of? Because you want to, especially with corporate sponsors, I think, like they want a benefit more than just their name being on the event. They want to get in front of potential clients for themselves. So I think it's definitely something that's very attainable to anybody here to have a really nicely put together document for your organization and your ask. So Kathy, with your matching gift ask going towards your board members most recently, maybe you didn't have to, quite prepare the same kind of flashy document for them since, they already know and love Circus Harmony. But what have you found to be most effective in your pitching and your ask, other than, of course, as you mentioned before, really customizing and tailoring the amount that you were actually asking for?
I think I did most of my pitching via email, and there were a couple that I followed up with a phone call. And the phone call ones were the ones that donated just a little bit more than I had asked them to do in that initial email. So I think having a real personal touch when you reach out to people, showing them that you've done the research, that you know who they are and how they're connected to your organization, that can really speak to them and helps them with the buy-in.
Definitely, yeah. And did you mention earlier that you also put the angle of like we expect 100% board participation on this?
We have 100% board participation for the year.
Okay.
Every board member needs to donate in the year. We don't have that same expectation for Give STL Day. And so I didn't frame it that way with the match specifically, but
Okay.
for those that had not yet donated for the calendar year, I did remind them that the fiscal year was coming to a close soon and we had not yet received their gift. So
always good to give a gentle reminder on that. And
for sure.
have your reason to be, and we're running this campaign, so we need your gift, please.
Yeah. And those were two that I did follow up with a phone call as well, just to make sure we got to that 100% giving for the year. So
yeah, excellent. Thank you both so much for sharing. So moving on, we talked a little bit about criteria for a matching gift. I think it's really important that, especially if your organization is new to building out a matching gift program, that you really level set expectations, not only for what does your matching gift partner expect from your nonprofit, is what do you expect from your partner? And you should be doing this before you're announcing your match campaign to the public. This should be an agreement that you use with this new matching gift partner to really foster trust and some transparency with them from the very start. And this is where you'll talk about the campaign criteria, how we looked at earlier. If you meet or don't meet your match, maybe you even exceed your match, how is that donor going to want to handle that? And then gaining a mutual understanding of the time frame. Is this 24 hours? Is it 2 weeks? Is it the whole quarter? That what if of if you meet, don't meet, or exceed. What the matching gift dollars are going to go to. Is it unrestricted funding? Is it building a new playground? Is it filling backpacks for children? What's the specific focus that supports the work that your organization is doing? And then also what the donor's role in the campaign is going to be. Now, this might be as simple as, they don't want to be recognized, so they want no role whatsoever. maybe they are like, heck yeah, you can use me. I'll be the one who, when you're sending your appeal letter, have it be signed from me because I'm super passionate about this and I want to do even more to help get people to give. Are they interested in maybe having their picture or a short video taken of them explaining why they've been so involved? And I think we've all definitely encountered, a lot of donors want to fly under the radar and they don't want this kind of recognition. But if you can find a matching gift donor who is really into it and will do more to help you strategize around the gift beyond, of course, their very generous initial contribution, definitely leverage that as often as you can because it can be incredibly powerful. Either Kathy or Katie, could you talk a little bit about the kinds of conversations that you have had with matching donors as you've been organizing the details?
Well, I did in the email when I was asking the board members, I did explain to them that if we did not meet the match, they were not on the hook to give the amount that they were pledging. I gave them that out as a way to try and encourage more participation, and thankfully we did meet the match, and so everybody did contribute as they promised. But since that was their first time doing a match, I did set that expectation to say, if on the off chance we don't meet this total amount, then you don't have to donate. I don't know if I would do that in future years or not, but to setting the expectations, for matching gifts being a new concept for many of them, I wanted to just explain it fully.
Yeah, and you felt confident that you were going to meet the match anyway, so no harm done.
Yeah.
Katie, would you be able to speak to your experience with the kind of corporate sponsor? I really do feel like corporate sponsorships can be very similar to matching gifts in spirit. Have you had anybody who really has wanted to go above and beyond in their involvement?
As a matching donor, I don't have a good example for that, but I kind of mentioned earlier that like volunteer as avenue to corporate matching gift. So I just wanted to also mention along those lines that this individual heads the green team at their company, which was a nice way to get them involved in the Earthway Center and support Give STL Day. So what he was able to do was, even though the company already gives the garden a gift to be a corporate partner of the garden, he found room in their green team's budget to give another matching gift. So I don't know, just trying to highlight that even if you go to a company in one way, there are multiple buckets that you could potentially get those gifts out of at one company, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely does make sense. Great point, for sure. You never know who knows somebody.
The other thing that crossed my mind was not being sure of what the right match is and if you're going to exceed it or not exceed it. When I was working with our Young Friends Council on our Gateway to the Garden campaign that supported opening the new Jack C. Taylor Visitor Center, we really weren't sure how much the group was going to give towards the campaign, and we did have an anonymous matching donor. Conversations with that donor, we just weren't sure what the match should be. So we decided in our plan that we were going to start at a certain number, and if we started getting close to that number, to kind of keep momentum and build more excitement, that we would just increase the matching amount and have that messaging of excitement around it, because it was a really exciting time for us, and getting those people involved was key for our success.
Yeah, thank you. I love that idea of being flexible, especially when you don't exactly know how something is going to shake out, building that flexibility into your plan. I'm a big planner. I would much rather know everything 6 months in advance. But especially when you're trying something for the first time or with somebody for the first time, it's definitely important to be prepared to think on your feet a little bit. Speaking of thinking on your feet, once you have your match, all the details are worked out, how can you actually strategize around this really, really powerful fundraising tool? And the reason match campaigns are so powerful is because they're easy to understand. Your dollar's going to be doubled, your dollar's going to be tripled. People eat that up. I see it on Give STL Day. I see it in year-end appeals that I'm sent. I see it on all the campaigns around Giving Tuesday. That is the easiest message, and I think one of the most effective that you can hope to have as part of a fundraising campaign. Even if your match is small, whatever your organization defines as small, leverage that while you have it. It's also great because it gives you an added sense of urgency. This is only 24 hours, or only the first gifts are gonna, until we reach our match threshold would be gifts. Help put a little fire under your donors' feet and make them think, oh, I got to do this now to take advantage of this opportunity to do more. Uh-oh. That was an interesting feature. Hold on, sorry, 1 second. Whoops. My laptop fell asleep. Anyway, help that donor take advantage of the sense of urgency that they feel like they're doing more. Everybody wants their dollar to go further. Why would I not want an organization to get $10 if I give them $5? This is really good all around. It's good for you. Your donor feels good. If it's a corporate relationship, that corporate sponsor is feeling good. And definitely don't forget that you do still need to have a story and a hook, even if you have a match donation. It is a powerful message, but just being like, yeah, we've got, the first $1,000 gifts to this campaign will be matched. Cool, great. What's your campaign for? Why should I donate to you? Who are you? Why do I care? We are inundated every day with asks. We're hypersensitive to it because we're nonprofit people. We're fundraisers. We're communications professionals. We're adjacent to this. I so often will get an appeal letter where I've read the entire thing and I don't know what the nonprofit is going to do with my money. And they haven't convinced me that they should get my money instead of somebody else. So don't forget about the importance of having a good hook. I wanted to show just a couple visual examples of matching messaging that I really liked. I found these with a quick Google search. This wasn't anything that was sent to me. So if you're feeling like you need to be inspired, just Google matching gift campaigns. You will get all kinds of stuff. I really like this example from the Alzheimer's Society on the left. This is a screenshot of a Twitter post, X, excuse me, because this is a very clear message, double your impact, with a very clear visual. 1 + 1 = 2. Like, how easy is that? I can also understand very quickly that on December 2nd, gifts up to $11,000 will be matched. And they've even thrown their matching donor a little love here. You can very clearly see that Deloitte was their matching gift. So I really feel like Alzheimer's Society is ticking a lot of boxes here. I know immediately what they're trying to accomplish. I know immediately how long I have to take advantage of this opportunity if I was one of their donors. And what I like about this example from City Mission is the clear message across the top and their use of a real picture of their work. The text is a little bit longer, but the numbers help me make it easier for me to understand what they're actually asking me to do. I can see right away that this is a $4,500 match. They're going to use the dollars to feed hungry men, women, and children at City Mission. And again, they're throwing their matching donors a little bit of love with the logos there, and then also recognition in the text. So I hope that it kind of helps you see visually, these messages don't have to be complicated. This is not like the graphic design accomplishment of the century. The one on the left is literally just a Twitter or X post. The one on the right looks a little bit more like a mailer. This is not out of the realm of possibility for a small organization, for a first timer. So please don't feel overwhelmed by, well, I have to find it and I have to get it and I have to message it. Like, you can absolutely do it with the skills and strengths that you already have. So when you launch your campaign, definitely launch it in what we in the marketing world call omni-channel marketing. And that's just multi-channel, right? You want to put this in front of your current donors and your potential donors in as many ways as you possibly can. So email for sure, really low-hanging fruit to send an email out to your volunteers, your board members, and your donor base, making sure that they're aware of this opportunity. Social media, even if you're only on Facebook, if you're only on LinkedIn, even if you're everywhere, put some posts out there about your matching campaign. And then if it is within your budget and your organization's capacity, consider sending out some print materials. Even just a self-mailing little 4x6 postcard really won't run you that much money. if you don't already have it, you can mail on nonprofit stamps as long as you have your nonprofit mail authorization, which will save you a lot of money on postage. If you have questions about that, you are welcome to email me because it's complicated, but it's worthwhile. And it's a really effective way to where getting in front of somebody multiple times, it's going to click for them at some point, and then they're going to take action. If you're only getting your matching campaign message in front of somebody once, the likelihood of them giving is really low. Think about how many times you have to see an ad before you buy something. We need to touch our donors 5 to 7 times before the message really even registers in their brain. So think about launching that campaign from multiple angles in whatever way is realistic for you. Also, if you have a website, if you're able to edit that, consider a dedicated matching gift page or pop-up on your homepage that is specific to this campaign. I'd also recommend marketing the match at your point of donation, whether you're using something on your website, if you're using PayPal, Venmo, another CRM, whichever way you're accepting donations, put something on that checkout screen that's like, we've got a $5,000 match live right now. Will you increase your gift by, maybe you want to say $10, maybe you want to say 15%. Like if you do this, your dollar is going to be doubled, tripled, quadrupled. If they're on that donate page, they are already on the home stretch. They're already really close to giving you. So if they need a little extra push to give a little more, if they see that message, and again, it's, wow, if I do this right now, this organization that I love and want to support gets more money, that's a win for the donor, and that's a win for you. And as a last little tip, if you are doing a printed piece, please include a QR code. If you're doing a digital piece, please include the link to give. Don't make people hunt around for information. They will not do it. You need to make it as easy as possible for that donor to take action to support your organization. And side note, there's absolutely no need to include QR codes on social media posts. If you're looking at social media, you're on a phone or a computer or a tablet. If you're on your phone, you cannot scan a QR code. If you're on a computer, you're not gonna do this and scan a QR code. So links, digital, QR codes, print. I will get off my high horse about QR codes now. Katie or Kathy, do you have any favorite campaigns that you've done for your organizations or tips about actually launching this campaign to share with the group? One of the things I love about both the Garden and Circus Harmony is you have a commitment to using real pictures. You all do not use stock photos. I know those are real kids. It's areas of the garden that I recognize. And I just think that that is extremely powerful. Now, granted, it's not realistic for everybody. Maybe you're working at a domestic violence organization and you can't use pictures of your clientele, but maybe you can use pictures of your staff, or you can have a voiceover from a real person over stock imagery. Just be authentic in whatever way that that's going to work best for you. I think I just asked you all for your input and then I kept talking. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm glad you did, Emily. I would have to say that my favorite every year is Give STL Day, just because it's so engaging for our young friends, volunteers, and corporate council volunteers. We really make a day of it, a month of it really, because we're preparing, getting their input, they're reaching out to their networks. We're using those images of the garden to really garner support for Earthway Center. And then we have a big celebration afterwards and have a happy hour. So it's just a nice way to raise that money for the Earthway Center and also engage our volunteers and get to know them better throughout the whole process.
I would just say, for our campaign specifically, it was Give STL Day as well. So it was a very short turnaround time. We had, I think, 3 emails go out and then several social media posts leading up to it. So we didn't do a whole lot of printed materials specific to the match. That said, as we're looking to grow matching gifts, into the coming years, we have a great avenue of just passing out flyers at City Museum because we have a natural audience that just walks by. Whether or not they stop for the circus, we can throw them a flyer. And that has proven to be much more effective than mailing for us. So don't discount where you are in your location. If you happen to be in a high traffic area, have flyers ready to go that you can hand out, or postcards that have that QR code, and that can be immeasurable because you don't know who you're going to get in front of then. You know, it may be a potential major donor walking by that doesn't look like it and you don't know them yet. So
Great tidbits. Thank you both so much.
Mhm.
Speaking of, Katie, you said happy hour and my ears perked up. So following up, what do we do after the matching gift has been secured? The campaign has been run, it's over, and it's done with. As always, please, please, please thank your donors for their participation as soon as possible. I really love phone calls for this. I'm in front of a computer all the time. I have my phone all the time. Especially if you're able to share the load with other staff members or your board, assigning them, a list of people to call, it takes maybe 60 seconds to like 3 minutes to have that phone call thanking that donor for their participation. I think that emails are really low-hanging fruit. It's super easy to do a mail merge to thank your donor if time is just of the essence and you need to get something out there as quickly as possible. You can also text if you have that relationship with their donors and they're okay with you sending text messages. And then, of course, we all love a handwritten note. Those can take a little bit longer. I think that's a-okay. I love a phone call follow-up as soon as you see the gift come in, and then send that handwritten thank you note once the dust has settled, like a week later, right? Even further down the line, share impact stories and other updates that illustrate the progress their gifts helped make specific to this campaign. If your matching gift campaign was all about getting a new playground built, all right, maybe you're not breaking ground for a few months, maybe the playground's not ready for a few months after that. But once the ribbon has been cut and the kids are on the slides, it's time to take pictures, it's time to get video, and it's time to send follow-up to these people who help support your campaign because they will remember that they gave to it. You also definitely want to thank your matching donor, and you should do this in a way that makes them feel special and digs a little bit deeper into the details of your campaign. They're going to want to know more specifically how you leverage their matching gift to do more for your organization. I think that if you can show them some way that their match made dollars come in the door that you otherwise would not have received, that's going to make them feel really good. So if you're able to say, well, this year we had your match and we raised this much. Last year we didn't have a match and we raised 30% less. That's going to be a wow moment for you and for the matching donor as well. Katie, I can imagine that corporate sponsors in particular really like this kind of follow-up. I know that that's been my experience with securing corporate sponsors for Give STL Day. Could you talk a little bit how you reconnect with your matches and your sponsors once the campaign is through, other than happy hour, which we all love?
I mean, yes, of course. So we all love the happy hour. Not everyone can join though, so it's important to make sure everyone feels the weight of that impact. So a way that we do that at the Garden is we follow up with what we call an event summary report that we, similar to our sponsorship packets, but only on the back end. So we'll include photos of the event that we might have, or and then really pull in those data points again, like Emily was saying, how much we raised over last year, who our supporters were, and just what the overall impact of that is going to be or has been since we had that particular event or fundraiser.
I remember designing a number of those as well. I would put it again, they're really nice documents. They're authentic. They use real photos. They combine storytelling with digestible data points, and they're absolutely something that you do not need a communications team and a graphic designer to do. I'm a graphic designer and I'm telling you this. You could do it in Canva. You could even do it in Microsoft Word. The important thing is that you are following up with all your donors, including your matching donor. Kathy, have you ever leveraged the phone call or handwritten note with Circus Harmony?
Yes, for the matching gifts, I did call the board members who participated to thank them after the fact, although many of them already knew they were following Give STL Day as it was happening. So there was some excitement there, which was nice. And our campaign this year was specifically around the Peace Through Pyramids program, which brought a troupe of circus performers from Stuttgart, Germany to St. Louis in just the last couple of weeks. And so we are currently printing a custom thank you card that has pictures of the kids here in St. Louis performing with the St. Louis circus students. And so we'll be sending out the handwritten thank you note on that stationery to show the pictures of the partnership that came to fruition thanks to the Give STL Day donors.
Oh, I love that. How fun. That just makes a handwritten note even more special to have that custom card with real pictures of that experience with the students. I remember when I emailed you about this training, you were like, yeah, sure, but not now. I've got a bunch of students from Germany coming in town.
Yeah, we had the whole
I'm
troop
so
here.
glad
It was a crazy 2 weeks, but
I'm so
it was
glad that
very
you were able to
rewarding.
do that.
You
So
know,
fun.
usually I would want to get thank you cards out sooner to the donation date. But with the trip happening a couple months after Give STL Day, we thought it was best to hold and make sure that we had those impact pictures to send out.
Yeah, I love that idea. How perfect. Well, thank you both so much. So I just have a quick key takeaways slide just to kind of summarize what we talked about today. I hope that everybody here will remember that matching gifts can come from anywhere. I feel like we've talked a lot about like, you never know who you're talking to, not only who they know, but who, you know, what they have going on. Matching gifts are extremely powerful fundraising tools because they're easy to understand. Donors love them because they feel that they're doing more with their dollar and doing more for your organization. And you can really leverage them to create a sense of urgency to get that donor to take that action now, please, right? And then not to forget the huge importance of following up, not only with the donors who gave to your campaign, whether that's a wonderful event summary report or a handwritten thank you note with real pictures of your work, and also creating something special for your matching gift. So we do have a few minutes for questions here. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that I can see all of you a little bit easier. Here we go. And I just want to invite everybody to come off mute or raise your hand if you would like to actually ask a question. I'm just going to skim back through the chat and see if we had any questions come in. So Jan asked, how do I get matching gifts? Jan, I hope we've at least somewhat answered that question for you today. If you have any specific questions that you would like us to talk about more, we definitely can. I would invite you to drop that in the chat or go ahead and come off of mute. April agrees with me about the QR code. Yes, that's my pet peeve, honestly, when I see an Instagram post that has a QR code on it and I'm looking at it on my phone. Like, what do you want me to do? Okay. Lisa. Ooh, Lisa's getting deep here. Do you subscribe to the theory that having a link that directs someone away from Facebook alters the algorithms and pushes your post down in the feed or doesn't show on people's feeds at all? Lisa, if I understood the Facebook algorithm, I would not be working here. Let me tell you, I would be out like making my millions for somebody. I am not an expert in this space, but my gut reaction would be no, I do not subscribe to that because we have so much traffic around Give STL Day where these posts are directing people to the Give STL Day website, not to a Facebook page or a Facebook fundraiser. And we still see an incredible amount of engagement and activity for that. That's just not something that has seemed true in my experience. It also doesn't really seem to be true in just the general posts that I'm making about the Community Foundation on a day-to-day basis. That being said, Facebook may have some sinister agenda where they're like, if it's not a Facebook link, you can't post it. But I think that it's you just kind of have to try and get your information out there in the places where it actually exists. Not everything can live on Facebook. And what's more important is to make it easy for that potential donor, supporter, somebody who might be your next volunteer or your next board member to get where you need them to go. Katie or Kathy, I don't know that you have any thoughts on the Facebook algorithm, but if you do, please.
Not my area of expertise, certainly.
Not mine either. Our artistic executive director, Jessica, handles all of the social media and I know she's constantly tweaking things to try and keep up with the algorithm, but I don't know what it actually does.
It's a bear. It changes so often. I mean, I have been largely self-taught, and I feel like every time I log into Facebook, they're like, we have a new advertiser center. I'm like, oh, I just learned how to use the last one, but thank you for that. I would definitely recommend, if you have a communications person, if you have somebody on your board who does communications for their day job, definitely trying to lean on them and their expertise to figure out what kinds of posts can be most effective for your organization. And then also thinking about differences in formatting across the social media platforms. Instagram, very visual, Facebook, a little bit longer text format. And then sometimes I think people are like dumping whole diary entries into LinkedIn. So that can also be a helpful way to help your content get to the top of people's feeds rather than get pushed down to the bottom. I haven't seen any more questions in the chat. If anybody does have anything else that they would like to ask of Katie, Kathy, or me, would be happy to answer you, or you are welcome to go ahead and come off of mute. Just give maybe another minute in case anybody is figuring out how to word their question. You're very welcome, Lisa. Thank you for your time. Like, makes me feel like a game show host when I'm reading these questions, the Q&A and stuff. Cool. All right. Well, I'm not seeing anything else come in. Of course, if you do have follow-up questions, I'll be sending out the link to this recording and the PDF of the slides tomorrow. You're welcome to send your question to me. I can pass it on to the right person or try and answer it myself. Thank you so much, Katie and Kathy. It's super fun to get to spend some time with you, learn about your organization and your strategy. Really appreciate you giving your time today to the group to share your expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
All right. Hope everybody has a great day. Take care.
Bye.